I wanted to record this video for parents and guardians to talk a little bit about Parent-Teacher Conference. I know not everybody's going to be able to attend tonight, these next few nights. So just wanted to provide some common questions and answers I get for Parent-Teacher Conferences. This is my third year teaching chemistry, my 6th year teaching science in general. So not saying I have it down to science, but I think I can answer a lot of questions that parents or guardians may have about general chemistry. So let's start with just a general question. A lot of times I get, Mr. Jones, it's a month into school. How can my student gain the best mastery of chemistry, right? How can they do the best at chemistry? And I would say first, being in class is really important. Chemistry is kind of like math in that it really builds on each other. So if you miss a class or if you miss multiple classes, you're going to find yourself behind, right? And you're going to find yourself behind in homework and labs, and you're going to have to make stuff up. And just generally, you're going to be behind in chemistry knowledge. So really suggest people are in class. I would also suggest that students take advantage of charger time. So students can come in before or after school, they can talk to me, they can get, in essence, some one-on-one tutoring from me, and that usually really helps students. That also allows students to get tracker stamps. I'll talk about this in just a second, but tracker stamps are really important in my class. And then thirdly, I'm making videos like this. Now, the videos I make are a bit more chemistry related. I can write on the videos and put pictures up there, and it's the next best thing to being in class. Now, they still need to be in class, but those videos are helpful. They're on YouTube, they're on Canvas. It's a good place for students to go. So that's a good first one. How can my student best gain mastery of chemistry? Second, what are these tracker stamps I just spoke of? Tracker stamps are really important in my class because they allow students to be able to retake tests or do test corrections. So these tracker stamps, I'll have this on the screen, but these tracker stamps allow students to come in during charger time. They can answer or ask higher level questions in class. They can do some quiz interventions. They can catch an error of mine, which is common. Anything that they do that's going above and beyond, I'll give them a tracker stamp for. And the rub is that they have to have 5 tracker stamps per unit in order to do test corrections. And what that does is it simply shows me how committed students are to chemistry, right? Whether they're great at chemistry or they're not so great at chemistry, getting in 5 times during the unit, which is usually about a month, 3 weeks to a month, shows me that, hey, I'm committed to this class. I'm going to take some time for this class, and I'm going to ask for some help if I need some help. So the tracker stamps are really important. These tracker stamps allow students to be able to do test corrections, which I'll talk about on the next question. So the next question is, Mr. Jones, how do test corrections retakes work, right? So I've maybe read your disclosure a little bit, which I'll also attach to this email. I've read your disclosure, but I'm still not sure how test corrections retakes work. So let me walk through that. If your student has 5 tracker stamps, that's the minimum they have to have, and no missing homework assignments, then they are eligible to do test corrections or a test retake. Let me start with the test retake. Test retake means, hey, I bombed the first test. Mr. Jones, can I take another test that hopefully shows my mastery in chemistry? And the answer is yes. If you have 5 tracker stamps and no missing assignments, you can. But the problem is, maybe not the problem, but what happens is whatever you get on that second test is going to be your grade for that test. So maybe you got an 85 on the first test and you want to retake it, and you get a 75 on the next test. You keep that 75. But if you get a 95 on the next test, you'll keep that. So I haven't had any students take me up on that. It's a little bit of a roll of the dice, but it's certainly an option. The second one is a little bit more likely. A lot of students have done this already, are test corrections. If you get below an 80% on a test, and that's what the district and the school and has considered mastery over the material. Do you have an 80%? If they get below an 80%, they're eligible to do test corrections if they have 5 stamps and no missing assignments. So they can come in, schedule a time with me, and do some test corrections before school. Usually takes them anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I find. And I give them a half point back per question that they missed, up to an 80%. That's important. It's an up to an 80%, right? Because if we're considering 80% mastery, then I'll give them up to an 80% on that test. So that's really great for people who just maybe didn't do awesome on a unit, or maybe they're just not doing great in chemistry overall. If you have those 5 stamps and you don't have missing assignments, you could hypothetically fail every test and come in here and get that grade back up to a passing grade. It's definitely possible. Now, the students who get above an 80%, right, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because you can't do test corrections, so your only choice is to study really hard, get an A first time around, or do a test retake and hopefully get an A the second time around. So you kind of have to work for the A in my class. You can't use test corrections to get an A is my point. Okay, so I think that's about all I have as far as frequently asked questions. Please look over my disclosure. It's colorful. It's got pictures. It's full of all this information. I just wanted to make a short video, again, introducing myself, kind of showing you what these videos are like, especially for the parents and guardians who aren't going to be able to be at parent-teacher conference tonight. But hopefully you've seen that I've kind of outlined a way that everyone can succeed and pass chemistry. This class is tough. Some students are great at it and will easily get an A, but I find that most students struggle with it in some areas. So if students are putting in the time and effort, they can get a good grade. They can get a passing grade even if they're putting in the time, effort, and they're making a commitment to this class. But it will take a commitment from your students to succeed if they're struggling in this class. But hopefully these questions have helped you understand my classroom and policy. Please never hesitate to shoot me an email, come by and see me. I love teaching your kids. I've already enjoyed this month so far and look forward to the rest of the year. Have a good night.